welcome back to Rohrich Knows Best podcast, helping you become a better and more informed you. And so today we'll talk about some hot topics. Peptides, are they safe? How should you use them? Should you use them at all? Well, I have an expert who's actually been doing this for many years, 23 years, right, Todd? It's unbelievable. You've been an aesthetic physician in New York City. Dr. Todd Schliffstein, who actually has an amazing social media, especially Instagram. He's very honest, and he tells you about the facts and the science. So Todd, let's dive right in on, so what are the 5 most common peptides that you see and that you feel that are safe to use, and how you use them today in your practice?
Well, I think you have to start off the ones that were formerly FDA-approved drugs, formerly used drugs, and the ones that have human randomized control studies. We have so many peptides out there, they say, oh, but look at the preclinical trials. Well, preclinical trials means it was done in a laboratory,
right, or
it was tested on animals. It doesn't necessarily mean it applies to humans, which is where I think where a lot of the misinformation comes from. That's great, but I need to see some human studies. So things that are very popular as we're getting older, the longevity, the wellness space is obviously exploding to a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Wow.
And at the forefront of that is a lot of peptides. Hormone replacement, yeah, but also peptides as well. So I'd have to say sesmorelin, tesmorelin are probably at the top of the list. Once you're over the age of 40, we know our growth hormone levels precipitously drop, and restoring them back to normal has multiple benefits throughout the body. Right? So from muscle repair, recovery, bone strength, skin, collagen production, energy levels. Who doesn't want a little more energy as they get older? Sounds good to me. Yep. And these have been studied in humans.
So both of those, sesmorelin and tesmorelin, they've all been studied, are FDA approved in the past. Okay.
Right. So I think that's an easy way to start off this because we know they've been looked at.
Okay.
And as a provider, you feel comfortable because it has FDA approvals. You know what to look for, you know what side effects, and you know dosing.
Great.
Right? So I think that comes easy. I think some of the very popular ones, BPC 157, they call that the recovery peptide. So a lot of times post-surgical, orthopedic, and plastic, a lot of people are using that on afterwards. It's a peptide that's derived from the stomach juices and secretins and helps protect the stomach. And then we have human studies of using additional BPC 157, preventing ulcers, from NSAID use and other things. But it's really been shown to help recover in orthopedic studies and in some plastic surgery. I haven't seen the studies, but in orthopedics, post-op recovery, healing quicker and with better results.
And how does that work? How does that BP 157 work? How does it work at the cellular level?
It works by multiple different pathways for any type of healing of tissues. So it definitely your stomach can heal from pre-ulcerous lesions and helps it regenerate and resurface new cells in order to heal itself, right? Every time you get a pre-ulcer in your stomach, it doesn't always turn into an ulcer. Why? Because the body has the capacity to heal itself. Otherwise, we'd all be in big trouble and we'd all have ulcers.
Right.
Right? So that peptic secretin is also used in other things to help tissues repair. Now, post-recovery, sometimes it's also combined with TB 500 and KPV post-surgical. That's what we call the recovery stack. And what do people do? They go on it for 6 to 8 weeks, up to 3 months, then they come off. Just so that post-operative recovery, especially in orthopedics, and I know some plastic surgeons have started to incorporate that. Hey, if I can get a quicker recovery, a better recovery, a little help like that, I'll take it.
So that's a peptide stack, those 3, and that. So tell us about stacking, and because we hear about that a lot.
I know, in peptides, they make it seem very common. Why? Because there's synergistic benefits of some of these things working together.
Okay.
So by itself, it does one thing. By itself, it does something else. But when they do it together, you get mutual synergistic benefit, a higher, more potent result. Now, cycling it means, I'm going to take it for a short period of time. Sometimes it's 6 to 8 weeks, up to 3 months, and then I come off. Now, some peptides you may come back on later, but if you're doing a post-surgery one, 3 months, you recovered, you come off of it. So it's a stack of 3 different peptides taken together for a certain period of time, and that's the cycle. So stacking 1, 2, 3, or sometimes more peptides given together, and then you do it for a period of time, which is called the cycle.
So are these injectables? Are they all injectable ones? They're all ones?
Most of them are injectables. The problem with some of the other formulations, such as oral, they have nasal, they have patches. Sounds great, user-friendly, but obviously, does it get absorbed? Does it get broken down? And how does that affect the efficacy? So it may be convenient forms, but really you're probably talking about less absorption, if at all, and that'll certainly reduce your efficacy of getting it in the first place.
So you can get the stacks formulated into one injectable, perhaps. I mean, now that we've got GLP-1s, the needle phobia has kind of gone away. Isn't it kind of crazy? I mean, diabetics have never had a problem with it, but now everybody. I mean, I tell you, Todd, I see 70-80% of my patients, and I have an exclusively cosmetic practice, they're on GLP-1s, and they don't seem to have a problem with needles anymore. So these are all, they can be compounded by reputable pharmacists, because we've talked before about finding a reputable physician that has experience with this and a reputable pharmacy, so they can formulate these stacks together into one injectable. Is that right? Is that what they'll do?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll come 3 separate ones, or sometimes they'll come as a combination. But, like I said, some people are used to this. 20 years ago, you told someone they had to take injections every day.
There you go.
I'm not doing that.
But now
some of these peptides are daily, and some of them are weekly.
Oh,
so
really?
Depending on the peptides. So people who are doing this are pretty committed to it. And if you're doing 3 to 5 at a time, which is not uncommon, I mean, you really have to be comfortable injecting yourself.
So you see that with a lot of your patients that they'll do stacks daily or weekly? Really?
Yeah, even friends and family, when I talk to them, it's amazing how many people are not shy with the needle. I bring out a needle in the office to do an injection, people freak out, but if they inject themselves 50 times, they're okay with it.
Go figure. Right? That's crazy.
That makes sense.
No,
right?
I know. So, but that's reasonable to do under the care of a physician and the proper pharmacy. Yeah, so that's good. So that's stacking. And then, of course, for post-op wound healing, that makes sense. I mean, what you said to me makes sense. It's science-based, and these are all FDA approved. And they have clinical studies, right? Do these?
Well, some of them have clinical studies, some of them don't. These may not be FDA approved, but there are studies in humans post-surgical showing improvements.
Yeah.
So I think the safety and efficacy of those has been shown to some degree, and they're only on it for 3 months. So I think a lot of people feel comfortable with that, knowing, hey, it's a peptide you normally have that heals yourself. Why don't I give you some additional while I'm recovering from surgery?
Okay.
And I think that's kind of reasonable because it's a short period, studied in humans, shown to be effective and safe for a limited period of time. Now, taking it for long, extended periods of time, we don't have that data, except for the few that have really been FDA approved and FDA studied.
Yeah, the growth hormone.
A lot of the long-term use of it, that's why a lot of people do cycles. They come on and they come off these things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, especially the post-op wound healing phase. That makes total sense.
Yeah, to me, that makes more sense, and I can see why surgeons are doing it. Hey, anything I can do for make a surgical recovery better, hyperbaric oxygen, if I can give them some peptides.
Yeah, I'm cool with that,
so,
and it's got science. So it's science, it's safe, and it's got good outcomes. I like that.
Yeah.
So what other?
I think orthopedics have looked at that for a lot of things, especially for tendon and ligament and cartilage repair. Why? Because typically they don't have good blood flow.
Right.
So how are they going to heal? Right. So they looked at PRP, PRF, but if peptides help deliver some messengers and some healing peptides into it, and accelerates the healing process, makes a better healing process. Yeah, I can see how that could be easily added on, making logical sense to it for a short period of time.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. So what other peptides are on the horizon? I mean, you mentioned those 5, which I think are safe, and most of them, some have FDA approval. So what other ones are on the horizon or that you use in your practice?
I mean, some other ones are very commonly used, and we have what we call anecdotal or pilot studies. Pilot study isn't a great study, but at least it's a study where they actually looked at it in humans, showing that, hey, this worked. You have a lot of them for cellular health, like BOT-C. You have other ones, immune modulators or the immune regulators.
Yep.
TB500, thymosin. There's a whole bunch of them out there that are for immune regulation. I think they have some benefit in the small pilot studies, but I'd like to see more before I think I have people on those long term. Yep. Some other people like to do those. I don't. And obviously, there's peptide people out. You tell me the problem. I got the peptide, right? So,
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Well, if I went to the doctor's office with that, I'd come out with 30 prescriptions. Well, then why would you want to get 30 peptides, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just the logic doesn't apply to one to the other. Just, people are afraid of pharmaceuticals, but they'll take 30 peptides. So I think we have to have a little logic and common sense, and especially when we're doing multiple different signaling. We got to worry, if I'm upregulating this in the long term, what is the long-term effect of that? And certainly that has to be considered.
That's great. Great wise words from Dr. Schiffelstein. So tell me, as we summarize for the viewer, what are the 3 take-home points on the use of safe peptides today? I mean, you mentioned the wound healing stack, which is great, and then the 2 other ones are growth hormone. So what are some take-home points for the viewer and the consumer as they listen to this podcast and they seek out to do peptides probably in stacking or cyclical fashion? Tell us about what they should do and learn to be safe.
I think, refrain from the cheap online direct, no guidance, no support, right? Price is important. Yeah, we all have a budget, but I wouldn't crimp on my safety, especially on an injectable. Yeah. They're giving it to yourself about sterility and does it contain what it really contains, Right. It's so easy from doing injections all the time. Any injection you do them too often, you worry about infection, especially if you don't have something that could be toxic. So refrain from, and also self-treating is, I wouldn't treat myself, right? You wouldn't treat yourself.
No.
It doesn't make sense. We're not objective with ourselves. So having some guidance to do this, a legitimate place to buy it at, and also be realistic. If you have interest in a peptide, great. For longevity, for health, or actually some kind of problem, but make sure you do it the proper pathway. When people come in and they check off 20 things, it's like, we're not solving 20 problems today, Great. I got something for stress. I got something to make you sleep. It's like, Right. If I give you medications for that, you'd be screaming at me and calling me a drug pusher, right? But if I give you peptides, I'm not. So I think we have to use some same logic and common sense here too. I think everyone's excited about the potential future benefits with better research, the hundreds of peptides out there, but I think we need a lot more research before we reach the full potential. I think we're at the beginning of this, not the end of it.
Great. Wise words from a very wise practicing physician, Dr. Todd Schiffelstein from New York City, an aesthetic physician for over 23 years. Please follow him on Instagram. And then if you have any comments or thoughts about peptide use, when to use them, when to not, please DM me on Rohrich Knows Best Podcast and like and subscribe and listen to us on both Apple and Spotify as well. So Todd, thank you very much for that incredible review and on the safety of peptides and what stacking and cycling, all that now makes a lot more sense to me and hopefully it does to our viewers as well. Thank you again, Todd.
My pleasure. I think it's an important topic that's very confusing for the average person.
Right. I agree. Thank you. All right.